motion and a second to approve the minutes of November 5th. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any public comment?
My name is Ashley Sigmund. I live here in Juneau. I do not live in Theresa or Reeseville. However, because I'm a resident of Dodge County, I'm concerned about the proposed contracts with these two cities or towns. I have friends who live in Theresa who attended the meeting that this was discussed. Many community members present expressed their disapproval of this proposal, and the way in which that they were treated and spoke to was unfortunate. The citizens do not want this, or at least the ones that I talked to would not prefer for this to happen. This feels like it's being pushed and rushed. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any further public discussion? Hearing none, public discussion is closed. And I'm taking the liberty to switching around on the agenda because Judge DeBreese is here to talk on circuit courts and he has another appointment, so he's going to go first.
I'd like to do so. Thank you.
Judge?
Yeah, not much to report other than our family court counseling services. The head of that is Shelby Bransman. She's leaving us, I believe, mid-January. Moving on to something else, she's being replaced by Jen Smith. I think that's in place already. So Jen will be taking over for that, and then we're in the process of, Jen had been working under Shelby, so we're in the process of getting somebody to replace Jen at this point in time. And it seems like we'll be able to do that. So other than that, there's no questions. That's all we really have.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. You all have a good day.
You too. And knowing when to make a proper appearance, it's the DA's turn.
Apologize for our tardiness. Amber didn't even realize that she put admin on the building on the notice and set the room up at our shop. So,
Kurt and I were looking at each other going, this isn't right.
it's not April 1st. Anyway, all right, well, with that, I just wanted to make mention and put into the record Bob's award that he received for Prosecutor of the Year, and we included the packet, nomination packet materials within your packet, because I really do want to make sure that this is, there's a record of this in the county annals, and I think that this does that. These are big awards. Not a lot of people get these, and you know, the theme this time around, in part from our normal themes, was kind of a pandemic prosecutor of the year, and we didn't call it that, but the committee selected. I made the nomination. I'm not a part of the selection committee for a lot of reasons, but obviously I made a nomination, so that's a good reason. But they didn't call it that, but really Bob's is the one that fits that the most, because of the work that he did with getting us to go paperless or paper on demand, and file retention and file storage programs that he's developed over the last 10-12 years that have been pushed out throughout the entire state. When everything went sideways in early 2020 and everybody got sent home, for the most part throughout the state, the DAs didn't miss a beat, because we were able to just basically, like I did, sit down at our kitchen tables, get on our virtual networks, and do everything that we can do short of appearing in court. But the other thing is that Bob was also instrumental in making sure that we adopted Microsoft Teams, as well as get Zoom accounts through this process. And so we were actually able to appear in court to a limited extent during those first few months when things really were shut down. And Bob, none of this was intended. It was intended basically for reasons of efficiency within the office, which it also made huge strides in. But as a result of that, we really were able to keep the program, the court system, the criminal courts moving forward. And a lot of people were responsible for that. Bob doesn't get all the credit, but he really was the keystone person in this. It was his ideas that got started. He's really been the go-to person for the entire state. He's the head of the DAIT committee. We are a pilot committee, or pilot county for criminal e-filing for our, also for our DA file management system that's used by every office in the state. And it really has been Bob's influence that has built these systems the way that they are. And he really deserved this award, and it is a big deal. I have been doing this for almost 20 years now, and there are a lot of truly spectacular prosecutors in the state that never get one of these awards. And so when you see Bob, please congratulate him. And I think it's just a testament to the county's policies about encouraging the departments to lead in the state. Really, we've embraced that, and as a result, Dodge County has made a huge impact positively in criminal justice, and a lot of that goes back, a lot of it goes back to Bob Barrington's work. So please congratulate him, and you should be aware of the things that he's done. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Very good, and I think his committee agrees with you and sends our congratulations also.
He couldn't be here today. He's got a family obligation this morning, so thank you.
I understand he was quite surprised. I saw him. He was talking to, he was in jeans and everybody else was all dressed up.
Well, I did play a little bit of a trick on him. It's been a tradition within the program to, as much as possible, to not tell the recipients until they walk into the award room and see their family sitting there. Because of just the logistics of everything with the pandemic, and because we were limited guests, most of the people weren't able to do that. But in our situation, we actually kept it completely secret from Bob. He was actually a little, he was absolutely surprised. I had to give him a heads up before the ceremony, about 10 minutes before I walked into the session that he was in, at the tail end of the training session, and I leaned down and in my very official voice said, "Come with me now, we have a situation." And he knows that when I say those words, it usually means there's a body or something really bad has happened. He got very stressed. He closed his computer and followed me out into the hallway to find his wife and Becky Bell, who was one of the nominators, sitting there. And he was so discombobulated at that moment, he had to hand me the computer to like log him out of everything. And then so he was not maybe dressed as well as everybody else, but that's my fault, not his. So
I'm glad it worked out there. Clerk of Courts.
Good morning. Again, I apologize for our sudden entry there. Kurt's completely right. When he says we have a situation, trust me, instantly you panic. Because normally that means something's wrong, very wrong. When I put on the agenda staffing update, my intent was to tell you that we are full staffed for the first time in a very long time. And then this week I received my chief deputy's resignation. She's retiring in January. So as of right now, we're full staffed, but she will be leaving. January 12th is her last day. The same day actually as Shelby Brandsma's last day in family court. So we are starting the process to get her position filled. And that's really all I have to tell you. I was really hoping to say, we're good for a long time, but things don't come that easily. So we will be full staffed and ready to go, hopefully January, February.
So you jinxed yourself.
I did. It was my fault.
Any questions for Clerk of Court?
Is that a position you have to fill from the outside, or you're going to fill from within?
I can fill it from outside or within.
Okay, so you're working on that already?
Yes, it has to be approved to get it filled, refilled, of course, or filled. And once that happens, it'll be posted, and I anticipate there will be applications from within.
Thank you.
Which will then be backfilling into those positions.
We've gone through that the last 6 months.
Nature of the business.
Very good.
Sheriff's Office.
I've got 2 items on here. You all received an email from me this week that we're not able to get any agreement done. As you know, Corp Counsel's office is extremely busy. I gave her the contract a month and a half ago, and she just has not had time to get to it until the last couple of weeks. We're waiting. She's got her portion of it done now, and now it's over to the Village of Reeseville's attorney for them to be able to review and get that finalized. I can give you a very high level how we've gotten here. I think we've talked about it before, but late May, early June. May was Theresa, June was Reeseville. Both villages requested that we come and present them with a presentation on contracting for law enforcement services. Since then, I've been advised that the Village of Reeseville, their chief has resigned. Is no longer, I think he might even be retiring, I'm not certain, completely from law enforcement here shortly. So they've had a very limited law enforcement participation because most of their officers in Reeseville are also full-time in other locations and just haven't been working. So they don't really have anybody really covering the village to their liking, and that's just the way things are. Part-time agencies are just not thriving right now because the full-time officers don't want to go and work a part-time job outside of them. And so they've requested us to put together a contract. We have one, we've been working on this agreement all fall. And the message that I gave to both villages was we need to make sure this is taken slow and steady. We need to make sure that we get everything that's needed on both sides before we even present the contract. And we were able to present them with a draft a couple of months ago, I believe. Yeah, December now, so it was in October. We presented both with a draft contract. Theresa's is going to be several months down the road yet before we even consider an agreement. This isn't anything that we're looking at yet. We're still going through conversation. They haven't even decided on a date yet. Reeseville, however, wants that additional enforcement as of January 1, if possible. And so we're trying to get that agreement done. The amount of hours, I'm not going to say yet, but it's minimal. It's 8-10 hours a week. We're still working on negotiations, so I don't really want to give a definite where we ended up yet. We worked with the finance director. Finance director provided us with a formula for how we cover all of our direct and indirect costs. And so this will be a budget neutral contract once we get this done, because all costs associated with the village will be paid for by the village. And in fact, we're going to be using their squad car in the Village of Reeseville, at least for the first contract term. And so all those costs will be paid for by them as well. So it's all 100% covered by the village, and something that I have not heard one Village of Reeseville resident complain about, come to a meeting about, same thing to us about all the village board. We need this, we want this is going to be a really good thing for us. We're really excited for it. So I've not had one negative comment from anybody in the Village of Reeseville. So again, Theresa, that will be down the road yet. We're not there. They don't even have a final agreement yet. And that will be coming shortly after we get the Reeseville one done, because we wanted that to kind of be our template. This has gone through the attorneys, and now we just need to work on final tweaks. But so what I would be requesting is, so that we can get going in January if possible, perhaps we have the resolution coming before the county board at our December county board meeting. If it would be possible, we would love to be able to maybe have a JPP meeting prior to, maybe we have it at 6 o'clock, prior to the county board meeting, so that you could review, we could get it in the packet for you, the contract in the packet, so that you could review it ahead of time. And as long as, tentatively, of course, we'd have to talk about if the contract is done by the attorneys yet, but tentatively, you get it in the packet for you, so that you could review it at a special meeting, and then you could make a determination on if you want to approve it contingent on that county board approval of the resolution. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm certainly open to answer questions that I can at this point, but we'll be giving you more information soon.
Sheriff, I'm not familiar with the structure of the two villages, who contacted you about wanting to have a contract?
In the village of Reeseville, it was Chris Abel, he's the chair of their police committee, I forget what they call the police committee. He contacted me and asked for a proposal. And then in Reeseville, it was David Brandenburg, same thing, he's the chair of their law enforcement committee up there. He contacted me and requested a proposal as well. Teresa, I'm sorry.
Is this with the blessing of their town board or their
Village.
mayor or whatever?
Their village committees requested the proposals, and I have subsequent to that been in front of both of their boards, and both of their boards have been very supportive of them.
That's what I needed to hear. Was it a committee or the board requested it?
Both. They've gone before both their committees and their boards. And Reeseville has given us contingent approval, obviously working through the contract on that portion of it. Unanimous.
Any other questions?
When do you foresee us getting a copy of the contract? I mean, we hate to delay this thing if we're gonna try to get it going.
In the packet,
First.
you will have it in the packet for our special meeting, which would be about a week before we'd have our special meeting.
Okay. And does anyone have a problem with calling a special meeting?
You're talking about Untitled County Board meeting?
Probably, that's kind of what I would work with Tom to see if that works out, but probably, if we can get the contract done with the attorneys, that's the only holdup.
And if they need service starting the first of the year, and we're here to protect the citizen, what happens if their service ends and we aren't in a contract yet with their coverage?
Their service is pretty much ended already. We already provide law enforcement services in the village of Reeseville. This contract provides them with dedicated additional services for however many hours a week that they want, that we are dedicated within the village, enforcing not only our county ordinances, state law, and their village ordinances, but it actually provides that we will remain within the village unless there's an emergency. We will remain in the village and we will work on village issues for that time. But we always provide law enforcement services anywhere in the county 24/7.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions? The next item is the grant.
We have actually it says budget amendment, it's actually a resolution. It is a budget amendment resolution. The resolution there is we applied for, it was quite interesting how this happened. I printed out the accreditation standards for the state of Wisconsin and showed it to our staff or a few of our staff and said, I'd like to do this for 2022. And I'll talk about what accreditation is shortly. But within a week of me printing that out and giving that to staff, a grant opportunity opened up for $75,000 for the implementation of the accreditation. And I thought, wow, this is great. Actually, we discovered it within a week. And then we discovered that it was due a week later. So Lieutenant Churchill and Captain Enright worked very hard to put together a grant application. And they were awarded, or we were awarded as a result, a $75,000 grant for the implementation of accreditation for the sheriff's office. Which is fantastic. It pays for the vast majority of the wages to do that above and beyond. So let me tell you what accreditation is so you have an understanding. Accreditation is a progressive and time-proven way of helping institutions evaluate and improve their overall performance. And then there are several key points under that. First, it promotes excellence and professionalism within the agency through voluntary compliance with recognized best practices, which we do our best to make sure that we're following best practices already, but these are recognized best practices around the state and actually derived from national standards. It provides for an enhanced sense of professionalism and pride within the agency and agency personnel. It provides for confidence that your agency is functional compliance through an independent review of an evaluation of agency operations, meaning the accreditation of folks who are also members of accredited agencies come in and they do a 3-day assessment of all our policies, our procedures, to make sure we are following those best practices, and we also have to provide proof of that happening. Going on, it's security and the knowledge that the agency is well managed. We feel that we are, but we want to make sure that we are. We have next is the confidence that operations and personnel are consistent with and well directed. And then policies and procedures are followed, following best practices that can help reduce liability and may increase saving on insurance costs. And I have Administrator Milky working. I've asked him to check with the insurance company to see if there are any insurance reduction benefits for being accredited. I'm not sure if there are, but certainly it would be a feather in our cap if there are any lawsuits that are filed, which does happen. And then networking collaboration with other professional agencies and organizations. So it's a positive thing for us, for our community, to make sure that everybody can understand that we're accredited, we are following best practices, and especially in today's world of anti-law enforcement, which we don't see here in this county, but we see nationally. This is one more feather in our cap to say we are doing things the best way, the way that is nationally recognized as best practices. So that's what we want to do. I wanted to do this long ago, but we weren't ready. We had a lot of work to do. We've had a lot of growth that has needed to take place before we got to this point, and we are at a really good spot that we believe that we can even take this normally 2.5 to 3 year process, and we're going to condense it down and get it done in about a year, year and a half. So that's what the resolution is for. It's to approve the budget adjustment because we weren't able to get this into the budget. It's $75,000 coming in as a revenue and a $75,000 expenditure to pay for the expenses for this. So it really is budget neutral at the end of the day. But that is the purpose for the amendment, is to allow the acceptance of these grant funds and expenditure of such.
Sheriff, in past accreditations I've been involved in, there usually are standards you have to elevate to become accredited, and sometimes it costs money to get resources or change structures, whatever the case may be. Is that included as part of that 75, or will those expenditures be added on next year?
There really aren't any that I've been able to locate, any expenditures to elevate us to a certain level. I think a lot of those things might have occurred in the jail, but because we're already meeting very high standards for our federal partners, we're already there. And so most of these changes are policy and procedure related. They're really standards that we're looking for that I haven't been able to identify to this point, really are not cost prohibitive. It's mostly wages to set our policies and procedures. But if there are things that do come up, those that would be included in the grant.
Yes.
I want to say congratulations, Sheriff, for getting this, because grants are great. You said at the beginning it pays wages. Does it also pay for the trainers or whatever, whoever comes in to do this?
That'll most likely happen in 2023. We're going to have to pay a couple hotel rooms, and I don't think we're going to have grant funds left at that point. So we're probably going to have to budget for some of that. That'll come out of our training budget. So I don't see that as being a very large expenditure to bring them in, because mostly it's the hotel rooms paying them some meals. Their wages are paid already by their home agencies.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Sheriff, the three biggest expenditures of the year are like $18,000, $22,000, and $21,000. What are those expenditures for?
Those are the wages and benefits for different divisions. So when they wrote the grant, they had to try and determine which staff would be the most likely ones doing a lot of the policy review, rewriting, and those sorts of things. So they did their best to try and break those out into different divisions. So
it goes across patrol and detectives?
Yeah, so right now it's mainly some admin, patrol division, and communications, because those are the most likely ones. A lot of it's going to be patrol division.
It'll be corrections as well.
Okay.
Corrections as well, it'll be both.
Any other questions?
Senate. Are you okay with staffing at the jail and the patrol right now, or?
In patrol, yeah, I don't think that's a agenda item. But we can certainly add it to another meeting.
Okay. I'll send you an email or something requesting that.
Okay, but that was actually an agenda item I wanted to add for when we get to the next meeting. But, yeah, if it was on the agenda, I'd be happy to answer it, but it's not.
If no other questions and we're in agreement, I'll entertain a motion to approve this policy, resolution.
I'll move.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Tentatively, the next meeting is set for January 7th, but as we discussed earlier, we may have a special meeting before then. Place and location to be determined for either meeting, so check your agendas when you get them.
I wanted to ask about that. I'm not sure how it got set as admin building for this today. I'm gonna ask Amber about that. I didn't have time to talk to her about it. I don't know if that was done by her or by Karen's office or by somebody else. I don't know. Would you, we would like to certainly invite the committee back to our office. I think it's best for the court operations people to have it in the courthouse. Would that be the committee's preference, or do you want to be here?
If I chime in, I know it was Jim's recommendation that we have it over here.
Oh.
But we do have a presentation that's going to be coming up in January by the finance director that we will need the overhead projector, and it would be best to have it here in January. So but that was, I think that was Jim that made the change to move it over here to this meeting.
And I don't have a problem being across the street. Is there a reason why we came here?
Social distancing.
I'm sorry?
Social distancing.
Okay. We will play it by ear, but I agree it's easier for everyone if we were over there.
And also, I'm just looking for your feedback on Supervisor Gutenberger's topic. We did want to come and talk to you about staffing and wages. And so we were wondering, it's going to be coming up as an HR discussion here relatively quickly. We were wondering, or I was wondering, would that be something we should put on the special meeting agenda to discuss, or should we wait until January? It's getting to be quite a pressing issue.
I guess my concern would be, one, how long is the meeting going to be if we start a discussion on that?
I know.
Could we start with the contract? If we have it before the meeting, could we start with the contract and then potentially have it as a second agenda item? And if we have time, we can discuss it as we could.
As long as when it's written up, we know that we have to adjourn at
Do that.
6:55 or whatever, to be able to walk 5 minutes to get to the other meeting. I have no objection to that. Very good, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. There's a motion and a second to adjourn, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.